Okay, good morning, grade 10. And today is day 3 of the online lesson. And I hope you keeping yourself safe and also washing your hands. And in our previous lesson, we spoke about the contemporary socio-economic issues. And these are the problems that affect the economy and that affect the society in which we have. And we've spoken about HIV and AIDS. We spoke about what it means. We spoke about the effect it has on the business. And we spoke about the responses, that is, what can the business do to reduce the impact of HIV and AIDS in the business. And we also spoke about unemployment. We spoke about the definition of unemployment. We spoke about the causes of unemployment. And we looked at the possible solutions of unemployment. We spoke about productivity. We spoke about what low productivity is. And we also spoke about what the business can do. And we spoke about poverty, the impact of poverty on the business. And we also spoke about inequality as one of the major problems of South Africa. That is the unequal distribution of income or assets between the citizens of South Africa. And we said one of the solutions to inequality is to make use of inclusivity in the workplace. That is to give everyone an equal opportunity so that they can have good standard of living. And we also look at the aims of inclusivity. And I will be continuing from that for those people that have the booklet on page 17. And we'll be looking at efforts to create an inclusive workforce. Number one is the legislation that is being put in place to improve inclusivity. We have the Employment Equity Act, we have the Skills Development Act, and we have the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment. We will be speaking about all those acts very soon. And today we'll be looking at another socioeconomic problem, which is crime. What is crime? Crime is the violation of the law. Crime has a negative impact on the business. Poor people cannot fully participate in an economy due to lack of money. So when people don't have jobs, when people don't have the right skills, there is no way they can participate in the economy. And at the same time, when you're talking about crime, people commit crime out of not having anything to do, because they think, okay, I've got no job, I've got no food to put on my table, then I have to steal or, just do something illegal to sustain a living. Lack of income leads to poor nutrition and lower productivity. Lack of income, when people don't have money, there's no way they can have good food on the table. Poverty leads to the depletion of natural resources. High poverty levels increases the crime rate. When there's high poverty level, it increases the crime rate in a country. Let's now look at the impact of crime on the business in South Africa. Number one, crime has a negative effect on the business, not of the business. It has a negative effect on the business. And its impact on the profitability of the business. When you're talking about the profitability of a business, remember, theft is an example of crime that is being committed in the business. For example, we speak about shoplifting. That is when people steal product from the shop. Its impact on the productivity of the business. Even when a cashier steals money from the till, it also has a negative impact on the business. And also we have all these, we call it an inside job in the business. That is someone working for the business steals the product and sell it for a cheaper price to the consumers outside the business. It impacts on the profitability of the business. Number three, the business incurs additional costs due to damage of property and loss of equipment. In a situation whereby there is a break-in, it means all those criminals break into the shop, damaging properties, breaking doors, smashing windows, destroying cameras, and so on and so forth. It is an additional cost for the business, and at the same time, the business needs to repair all those properties that are being damaged at the same time. And at the same time, number four, there is an increase in insurance premiums and security costs. So in that kind of a situation, when businesses see that Where I have my business, there's a lot of crime. Businesses need to take out insurance on the goods and also on the employees. Businesses need to take out insurance, and when businesses are making use of insurance to protect their goods, they need to pay premiums. And when you're talking of a premium, it is an amount the business needs to pay to insurance company so that in case something happens, they can be compensated. And also, the businesses need to pay money for security costs. Maybe you need to hire security guards to watch over your business, or you need to install cameras, you need to install a metal detector. Those are additional costs for the business, and it all boils down to the impact of crime on the business. So there's crime has always have a negative impact on the business. So businesses also need to protect themselves. In a situation whereby there is a robbery and one of the employee is being shot and dead, the business also needs to pay for funeral costs, or they need to pay for medical costs in case of an injury, because that employee is being injured in the workplace. So crime is so bad on the business. It has a negative impact on the business. Then we move on to another socioeconomic problem that we are experiencing in South Africa. We're experiencing violence. When you're talking about violence, violence is an extreme physical force exerted on someone else to cause what? To cause pain. When you're talking of violence, when you look at your textbook, I'm very sure that is Platinum textbook, it spoke about like violence can be people breaking into the shop, breaking into the business, smashing the window. You see, sometimes you walk on the street and you see a business door that is being smashed. You know, out of nowhere, we see all those skelms and all those scullies. They just throw stones at the doors or the glass window of the business just to cause what? An pain to the business. What are the examples of violence that we have? Number one, we have a racial violence, which is also known as the xenophobic violence. That is an attack on a foreign national that is different from your own national. We have violence related to strikes, which we all know, like looting, like damages to property, and so on and so forth. So we have looting. You see people going, when people are going on strike, they say they're going on strike because there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no good road, there's no toilet. But the next thing they do is to go to someone else's business, someone else's shop to loot all those goods that they have in that shop. We all see that in the television, and we read it in the newspaper. So those are examples of violence, and at the same time, a damage of property. Sometimes people go on strike, and the next thing they do is to burn shops, to throw burning tires and burning down other people's businesses and breaking other people's businesses in a it is very, very violent. And those are the examples of a violent crime. So let's take a look at the causes of crime, at the causes of violence. Why do you think people are violent? Why do you think people are violent on the business, and at the same time, why are they violent in the community in which we live? Number one, causes of violence. People are violent because there is a frustration due to living in poverty. People can be very violent. When people live in poverty and they actually see other people living a good life, or they actually see other people living close to them, driving a good car, living a good life, wearing nice branded clothing, they tend to be frustrated because they are living in poverty, and the next thing they turn to is to be violent. Number two, unemployment leads to boredom and desperation for money. I always say that to you, my learners, that when you don't have anything to do, when you don't have any job, you don't have anywhere to go in the morning, and you just at home doing nothing, and the moment you hear other people shouting outside, oh, we need water, we need electricity. Now they start doing toy toy. Because you've got nothing to do, you also go outside and join them. And that is an example of boredom, because you've got nothing to do, and the next thing sometimes you don't even know what is happening. You just, okay, we're breaking down this shop, okay, we're looting that shop, and everyone just goes for it. So violence is caused because of unemployment. People have got nothing to do, and at the same time, when people are desperate for money. Number 3, causes of violence is when someone grows up in a home or community where violence is what is common. In a situation where parents are violent, where a dad beats up a mom, or it can be a vice versa. It can be a mom that beats up the dad, or it can be parents using violent ways to reprimand a child. You live in a community that violence is common, it makes people around there to participate in the violent activities. And number 4, the lack of knowledge and respect. When you're talking about the lack of knowledge and respect, it also causes it's one of the causes of violence. Like, you do not have the knowledge. Like, for example, when you're talking of lack of knowledge and respect, we can actually attribute that or link it to a xenophobic attack. Okay, they are foreign nationals, they need to go, this is not their country, I'm black, you are white, I'm pink, someone is purple. It's because of the lack of knowledge. That is why people participate in a xenophobic crime. And at the same time, the lack of respect. When you do not respect other people's humanity, when you do not respect where other people comes from, when you do not respect the reason why they are in your country. Sometimes what we always look at, oh, they come to our country to take our jobs. They come to our country to take our wives. They come to our countries to date our girlfriend. That is a lack of knowledge. Not everybody that comes from a different country from yours are actually committing crime, or they are actually here because they want to be here. Some people are actually in the country due to war and due to a lot of problems they are experiencing in their country that actually brought them here. So we need to have that knowledge, and at the same time, we need to respect other people. We need to respect other people's property, and we need to stop the act of violence. For example, like looting. I always advise my learners, I wouldn't want to see you on TV looting other people's businesses or goods or the product, because you need to put yourself in the position, what if I am the owner of the business? What if you start a business in the nearest future, and from nowhere, just gang of hoodlums just come into your business and your shop is being looted? You get what I'm trying to say? So causes of violence: frustration due to living in poverty, unemployment because you're bored of doing nothing, growing up in a home or community that is violent, and at the same time, when there's lack of knowledge or respect. So what is the impact of violence on the business? Let's take a look at that on page 17. Violence has a traumatic effect on people. People need to go for counseling. When there's shooting in the shop, when there's killing, when there is destruction, breaking the business property, or stealing from the business, consumers get frustrated. That is number 1. Number 2, employees needs to go for counseling, because it is a traumatic event in a situation whereby you have a cashier and someone from nowhere just takes out the gun and telling the cashier, oh, can I have all those money you've made the whole day? It is wrong. And number 2, it causes a reduction in poverty. I actually want you to change that. There is a reduction in productivity, because machines are being taken away, or machines is being broken down. It causes a kind of a disruption in the productivity of the business, because the things that the business have planned can never go according to the plan, because violence has already taken place in the business. For example, breaking into the shop, damaging the properties. There's no way the business can run as normal for that day. Businesses incurs extra costs for counseling, like I said. Because there is trauma, then the business needs to pay for counseling of the employees that witness the violent situation. The business could suffer a decrease in profit because customers may feel unsafe, and it makes sense in a situation whereby there's robbery, there's violent situation. Consumers get scared of going into that shop maybe for the next even 1 month because they're not even sure what is going to happen afterwards. So violent, it's wrong, and at the same time it has a negative impact on the business, and people need to be aware of that. And the next problem that we're having is in South Africa that impacts on the business is the political disturbances, which is in form of a protest by individuals showing their displeasure. So when you're talking of a political disturbance, what does it mean? This is when people are not satisfied with certain rules and regulation that is being put in place, and people want to go to the parliament and protest, and it causes a kind of a displeasure to the business. Let's take, for example, remember there was a time there was this caption by H&M that says the coolest, there's this caption that says the coolest monkey in the jungle, and so on and so forth. And EFF actually went to the H&M stores to actually disrupt the activities of the business. Not just disrupt, they actually messed up. They actually damaged the equipment of the business, and they actually caused a delay in productivity for that day. So those are the examples of political disturbances. People protest for various reasons because they are not being satisfied with what is being put in place. They will always cause a disturbance or a disruption. And we also have a labor dispute. So when you're talking of a disturbance, we can also link it to a labor dispute. So what does it mean? A labor dispute is when employer and employees disagree. Please underline that word, disagree on issues. For example, an employee and an employer can complain on the remuneration or working condition. Remuneration means the salary that is being given to you. Maybe it's less, or maybe it's not being paid on time, or maybe you worked overtime and you are not being paid extra for your overtime, or your working condition is poor, it's so wrong. Employees can go on strike, and they can cause a disturbance. A labor dispute could result in strike, where workers were told labor, go slow. You get what I'm trying to say? Employees can go on strike, which means a total refusal to work, or sometimes they go on a go slow. Go slow means they're working at their own pace at a very slower rate, or sometimes there might be a lockout. A lockout is when the management stops protesting employees from entering the premises. I think we spoke about that in grade 9, the difference between a go slow, a strike, and a lockout. So those are the examples of a labor dispute that has an impact on the economy and the society at the same time. I'm not sure if you're watching the news today. I'm seeing the miners in certain, I think it's in KZN, Eastern Cape, I'm not so sure. They're actually engaging in a kind of a labor dispute, which is a sit-in. They're sitting in the mines, they refuse to come out, and that is a form of protest to show their dissatisfaction about certain maybe rules that is being put in place by the employees. And we also have another problem, a socioeconomic problem, which is gambling. In Xhosa word, they call it dovolo. We're talking about gambling, illegal gambling. It has a bad socioeconomic impact on the business. Gambling is a game of chance. So when you're talking about gambling, there is no guarantee that you're going to win. There's nothing gives you the guarantee. It's just trying your luck and to see if you are going to win. People risk losing money or possessions. People lose money. They bet with the money. They bet with cars. They bet with valuables. They bet with a lot of assets. It can be a gold. It can be your car. It can be anything. They even bet with their businesses or possibly win money or a prize. So it's of two chances. It's either you win or you lose, and that is gambling. What are the forms of gambling? Forms of illegal gambling. So all those dovolo you play, it's illegal gambling. because those are not registered gambling. And at the same time, there's no limitations to what you can lose when you go into gambling. And at the same time, that is why you say you need to gamble responsibly. You need to be able to make the right decision. That is why you need to be more than 18 before you can actually go into gambling. You need to know when to stop gambling. What are the forms of gambling? Licensed casinos, betting, horse racing, and other sporting events through what? A licensed. Please, I want you to underline that. You need to be licensed bookmaker, and at the same time, the National Lotto or lottery is an example of illegal gambling. Legal gambling means gamblings that are registered, that do follow the government rules and regulation. What are the examples of illegal gambling? Unlicensed casinos. We have them in different places. Those ones, I'm sure the boys in the school, those ones you play with your money and you put in your card down, those are examples of illegal gambling. That is wrong. It can lead to anything. It can lead to a fight. It can lead to two people stabbing themselves. It can lead to death. Pyramid scheme. Pyramid scheme is like a kind of a scheme whereby you said, okay, there is a business. I'm starting a business. I need to bring 5 more people, and those 5 people needs to bring another 5 more people, and that's 5 more. You see, it's like forming a pyramid, and the first person you'll be taking 100 rand from this one, taking 100 rand from that one. You bring another 5 person, you'll be taking 100 rand each from them. Those are examples of illegal gambling. I could remember there was one that I couldn't remember the name. You used to open an account and you bring more people, and those people also bring more people, and from there your account will be growing. Those are just messed up gambling. It's a pyramid. It's wrong. It's illegal. And we have unofficial lottery types. Official lottery types, you see them at the back of train station. You see, they gamble. It is wrong. And at the same time, we have money laundering, which is also wrong. Money laundering is like when you actually hide lump sum of money that is not, that is not legit, it's not legal. You can't even say where all those money are coming from. It's more or less like the money you get from corruption and bribery. And so what is the effect of gambling on the business? You see, when people gamble, it leads to poverty, because you put in every of your income into gambling. You not paying your rent, you're not buying food in your house, you're not paying your accounts in the shop. It leads to poverty. And the moment there is poverty in an household, it can lead to crime. Do you get what I'm trying to say? When people are poor, they are frustrated, now they turn into something else. It can lead to robbery, it can lead to gangsterism, it can lead to anything. And the moment there is poverty, its impact on the business. The moment there is crime, its impact on the business. Even it can lead to violence, because a broke person can be violent. So which means violence in the homes, violence in the community, and from there it can lead to violence getting into the business. And and the last socioeconomic problem that I will be talking about is what we refer to as piracy. Piracy, we've spoke a little bit about it. Piracy is the legal copying of original materials without the permission of the rightful owner. So when you're talking about piracy, is when you copy someone else's intellectual property. Intellectual property means my own innovation, my song, my poems. You get what I'm trying to say? Then you went and copy all those music and all those videos without my permission. Or I write a textbook and I'm selling those textbooks, but instead of people buying the textbook, someone now takes one of my textbook and make photocopies for everyone to make use of without seeking my consent, which means piracy is illegal. It is wrong. And nearly everybody is being guilty of that in a situation whereby you send in music, you go online, you use your own data to download music, and the next thing is to start share it for other people to get the music. That is an example of a pirate, but it is wrong. It has a negative impact on the business and the community. For example, what are the examples of piracy? For example, illegal copying of music. We see them at the back of train stations. We see them on the bridge in Cape Town. All those guys selling 20 Rand CD. It is illegal. Those are the examples of piracy. Some people might say, okay, means, but it is a form of job. No, but you are making money at the expense of other people. I'm sure you've seen how much is being spent to make videos of music or to make movies. Those people spend a lot of money and they expect to make profit out of it. So which means if I'm a music producer, after spending millions of Rand to achieve that, I need to sell my CD for like 300 Rand or 250. But someone else buy one of my CD for 300 Rand and goes in his or her house to make copies of those CD and sells it for 20 Rand at the terminus. That is absolutely wrong. That is limiting my profit, and at the same time, it has negative impact on my name. Illegal copying of music, illegal copying of movies, illegal software, like all those software that is being used in unlocking phones and so on and so forth, patent rights and trademarks. When you're talking about patent rights, it means you're copying someone else's artwork, like an invention, like an artwork. You see, like someone, all those artists, they actually come up with nice views, nice pictures, which is actually their own inventions. They actually originated that. And if someone else makes copy of that and selling it for a cheaper price, that is violation of their patent right. And also a trademark. When you're talking about trademark, we've got a lot of fake trademark, or we can call them a counterfeit. Instead of you buying Adidas, you buying Adidas, and so on and so forth. You see all those Gucci, you buying Gucci. Those are examples of piracy because it actually deprives the original owner of the profit they are supposed to earn. And what are the ways to protect your product or work from being pirated? Number one, you can take copyright on your invention. So when you're talking about copyright, it is a legal protection of original work. So what do you take a copyright on? I actually want you to put it in brackets. You can take a copyright on books. You see it at the front page of every textbook. It says there is a copyright. It is illegal for you to make a copy of any page without seeking the consent of the owner or without you taking permission from the rightful owner. So when you write a book, if you want to protect it from being pirated, you need to take a copyright on that book. You can take a copyright on a book, and you can also take a copyright on DVDs, that is the movies and your music at the same time. Number two, you can take a patent right to protect your invention. But what do you use patent right for? Patent right is an exclusive right to make use or sell a new invention for a limited time. So maybe for like 2 years, you can take a patent right on your drawings, on your inventions, let me give you an example of a patent right that you can actually Google and read more about. I think I've spoken about it before. There's this man that is actually charging Vodacom because he was the first person to come up with the please call me. Please call me. He was the one that invented it, that you came when you press star one dun 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 or what, I don't know, 1 2 4, I'm just saying, it can show please call me, and a lot of people made use of it, and Vodacom also benefited from that. So the man was actually taking Vodacom to the court of law that he needs to be paid for that invention, and he was actually charging Vodacom 100 million. You can go online and read about that man that actually invented a please call me. He was the first person to come up with that invention. So in that kind of a situation, he can take a patent right on his invention. People that had all those Mandela pictures, all those beautiful paintings can also take what? The patent right on their invention, but patent right is only there for a limited time. And lastly, we have a trademark. You can get a trademark. When you're talking about a trademark, it can be a logo. That is, a trademark means that I invented that trademark. There is my business. This is my logo. So when you're talking about a trademark, it can be used for goods or services, or we can say for product or services. So what is a trademark? It can be a shape. For example, like Adidas, it has 3 lines, straight lines. We have a symbol, okay, like a puma. You know what puma looks like. We have a color, like for example, we have Pick n Pay. That the trademark you can see is blue, white, and a little bit of red. For ShopRite, they have yellow and red. For different kind of shop, that is an example of trademark they took on their product so that it can be protected and no one else can use that trademark. If anyone else uses a trademark, they're going to be charged in the court of law. Or it can be a word to make a product or a service. So when you're talking of a word, you'll be talking about you paying more, you pay less at clicks. That is an example of a word. Or sometimes we have a ShopRite slogan. What is that ShopRite slogan? You sort it out by yourself. You know what it means. Now, Pick n Pay, they also have their own slogan. Spur, they have their slogan. McDonald's, they've got their own slogan. Those slogans belongs to them. It can never be used by anyone else because it has been protected under the trademark. And it makes them recognizable. Even when you see a Coca-Cola has got a trademark, they've got a slogan, they've got a symbol. Even a small child, you showing a small child a plastic bag of ShopRite, the child can tell you this is ShopRite because he or she knows the color, he or she can identify it. So when you have a trademark, it makes your product recognizable and it actually protects your business or your products from being pirated or being used by someone else. So for example, okay, we have example of a Nike symbol. You know how Nike looks like, the Nike that goes this way, not the Nike that goes the other way. Okay, a Nike symbol, and it can also be written as what? Just do it. So the moment you see just do it, you know it belongs to Nike. So if I want to start a business today, I wouldn't say I'm naming my business Just Do It. No, Just Do It had already been protected by Nike. So Nike went for a symbol and at the same time a slogan, and that is a better way to protect your product or your service. And lastly, we're looking at the difference between counterfeiting and bootlegging. When you're talking about counterfeiting, when you're talking of a counterfeit, it means fake. It's a counterfeit. It is an imitation. Imitation. You want to make something that looks alike, something that looks similar. It is an imitation of the real product with the aim of selling it as the original. For example, we have branded clothing and we have shoes. Counterfeit, there's a lot of counterfeit goods in Belleville. You know, they tell you it's also Gucci, but it's written Gucci. Instead of writing Gucci, they just write Gussi, just to actually confuse people, and at the same time, they sell it for the same price as the original. And we also find them in town. Those ladies selling or men selling fake bags. They tell you they're selling Louis Vuitton's bag, Prada. Yeah, there's a lot of them. They make it so close. That is an imitation. They make it very close to the original, and sometimes they sell it as the same price as the original. It's actually wrong. And lastly, we have bootlegging. And when you're talking about bootlegging, it's illegal manufacturing of fake goods. And also, Bootlegging can also be, sometimes when you record a live program without the consent of the owner, sometimes you're saying, okay, I'm recording Oprah Winfrey show, then you start selling it afterwards. Or sometimes you record all those Steve Harvey's live show and you sell it at a cheaper price, which is very wrong. You're not taking the consent of the owner. So bootlegging, illegal manufacturing of fake goods for sale. Example, fake turkeys are being manufactured in China. We have a lot of that. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to the end of the contemporary socioeconomic issues. I want you to read, and I will be sending you an activity on contemporary socioeconomic issues before I start another topic. Good afternoon.